I'm going to work on the face next. Just get a suggestion in there because we're going to start showing the legs and I don't want this bare bone face. So proportions that you need to be mindful of in terms of the face are you got to have the halfway. That's the eyes, right? Pretty straightforward. And then we're going to create an orbit of the eye in here. But the measurement that always confuses people is just where to put the nose. So let's just take somewhere between a third and a half, okay? And just put the nose in, and then put the lips at kind of a third from that. That's almost exactly a third, actually. Let's do it. Let's see how it turns out. I'll let you see how it turns out, and then we can move the nose around. So first, orbit of the eyes. Make sure it gets some distance. Okay. And then what I like to do is take the eye. It looks like that could use a little volume. What I like to do is take from the corner of the eye and then I start to drag down. And what I'm doing right now is cutting out the maxilla bone. Well, let's just say the maxilla. And establishing kind of a front plane for that eye. Let's focus in on just the eye, or just the head. Okay, and then let's take that measurement and we'll put the nose right there. Lips aren't going to be a worry right now. We're going to cut in a temporal line. Right at the bottom of the nose, that's where the cheek is going to end as well. So, and then come to the side view and just push it back. And I'm going to give the nose, the glabella, and the brow a down plane. Use the move brush and pull out the nose's up plane. I really like to emphasize that this is separate and distinct. So I might come into trim dynamic. And what I'm going to do is pull from the cheek around the nose. You can do underplane of the nose, you can do a side of the nose. But however I do it, I'm going to just try to get this simple planar structure. Boom, 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 and then up and up. Okay, I'm going to add some room to the forehead, but what's important is that I now have a front of the face and a side of the face. Okay, that's really important because that's going to help me figure out everything else from this point forward. And it's the side of the cheek coming into the zygomatic major, coming into the orbit of the mouth, nodule at the side of the mouth, and then coming from the depressor, well, let's say from the triangularis. That's the old school term. Depressor anguli is the new school term, if I remember right. And you can start to shape this if you want. Really shape that chin. But let's come into the side view. Make sure the shaping and the proportions are working. Okay, I'm going to cut out the jaw. let's check our measurement. Halfway. That's where the ear is going to be. Simply build it up out of strokes, push it in. Dynamesh would be really good right now, but I don't want to risk Dynamesh for this ear. And besides, when I do topology, I'll usually just pull an ear I already have. Okay, shaping the back. Make sure the sagittal crest is active. Frontal eminence, 2 bulges on either side, sagittal crest on the top. I need to turn local symmetry on, or local pivot on. Okay, I like to separate the glabella and the superciliary arch from the overhang. Really carve this line in. Don't let that creep up. You really want to make sure that that's a nice straight plane. You can always let it creep up later, but right now structure is more important than realism. Okay, the sternocleidomastoid attaches to the mastoid process, so I need to get it back there so it can attach. Masseter. Gotta be a little more careful how I bring that chin down. I don't necessarily want to give him a double chin, but I don't want him to look anorexic or like a fashion model. Alright. Not too shabby. We have a lot of forms in place. Okay, there's a couple of things I want to emphasize. 1, 2, 3. Cheekbone, orbit of the eye, frontal eminence, straight plane coming along the zygomatic down to the chin. Masseter forms that. Then we have another part of the jaw that kind of comes out and around. Sagittal crest, temporal line, masseter, okay, zygomatic bone going into the middle of the ear, orbit of the eye, okay, and then this is a really nice clean plane. So from below, that's really reading straight. I'm going to pull the overhang back. shouldn't be that dominant. That could be really way too powerful. There you go. Alright, line of the lip. Once you got all that other structures in place, things get real easy. Really simple setup I did. See how I just drew those lines in? 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. Now watch as I just go in and adjust the planes. So one of them is definitely the corner of the mouth, and then I switch to trim dynamic, down plane of the lower lip, okay, that's really the up plane of the lower lip, and then the down plane of the upper lip. Damien standard brush, nostrils, really refining that maxilla. It's probably one of the least understood parts when you sculpt a portrait, is just getting this section. And how that operates. And making sure that you understand how the nostril is moving in, and just the architecture of it isn't very well understood by us, generally. Notice I am not sweating polygon artifacting, or the lack of enough polygons in there to start to describe certain form. Not letting any of that get to me at all. Let's turn perspective off and check our proportions. Okay, so we managed to increase the size. Pull the sartorius out a little bit. getting that nodule. Side of the mouth, and then how that's going to form. A little bit of fat in the infraorbital triangle. Those lips are messed up. It's the corner. Damien standard brush. Alright, it's going to be good enough for me to go. So, a lot of stuff that we can do, but, you know, we're within range. Looks a little creepy with the orbits of the eye there, but it really helps with this whole element. So let's just look at it rotating. Make sure that perspective is on when it's doing that. Shift click outside there. Frontal eminence looks like it's getting a little nutty. Starting to look like a character in Star Trek. And, oh yeah, definitely. You can see it, butt head. Exaggerated that. So good that we did that. And the solution is probably just Alt. Press on that. And take it all down. There you go. There. A little better. There's angles and things to change, stuff to adjust. But we've got the face far enough along to where I would jump in now and start to do the legs.